I want to talk about just the winning time of our specialty events, the women's and the men's 8 for you and the women's and the men's 60 for me. We don't have to say who we think is going to win, but I want to talk time.
I would say men's 8, 145 low. I think that will win it. And I think 158 high will win the women's 8.
I think it's going to take between 639 and 744 to win it.
644.
Yeah, 644. There's going to be someone that runs 6'4" and they don't medal. What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to another episode of the Run Your Race show. I'm your host, Akeem.
And Chanelle.
And if you like track and field, the world of track and field with a little bit of twist to it, then I hope that you consider subscribing. If you're new to the channel, old to the channel, share this with a friend, share this with your aunt, share it with your uncle, with your baby cousin, share it with them. And definitely don't forget to subscribe to the channel. We got an action-packed lineup of stuff that we're going to be discussing, a lot of information we're going to be throwing at you. But first, how was your weekend? What did we do?
I was tired. I felt like it was a relaxing weekend. I was definitely feeling the built up exhaustion from our week of training. We were in phase 3 or week 3. So for those who may not understand what that means, Akeem here likes to schedule our weeks as if we were still professional athletes. So we do week 1 is pretty light. It's an intro week. Week 2 gets a little bit harder, but week 3, things really, really turn up. The intensity, the length of the workouts, the weight goes up when we're in the weight room. So yeah, this was a week 3. We ended it on Saturday with a hill workout.
It's kind of hard.
Yeah, it was very hard. So I was feeling it this weekend. We laid low, we relaxed, recovered. I personally, as a retired athlete, do not like to push myself as much as Akeem still prefers to. I feel like been there, done that. I did that for years. I don't really want to feel the pain anymore, but married to someone who still likes to get after it. So he pushes me still.
Yeah. But for me, working out, eating well is a way of life for me and kind of always has been. So I always look at it differently, and sometimes I got to drag you to do the workout, but you always feel at least just a little bit better after. So, for those who may not have the motivation to work out, you got to change how you look at that thing. A lot of people look at it as, man, it's the gym day and I'm tired, but I just look at it from a way of health. Physical, mental, spiritual. It helps me and makes me feel better. So I also think you also got to push the body every now and then. You got to see what you still got it, because these kids be trying to test us though.
We did that for years.
Yeah. And I'm going to continue to do it. So I'm not
wait. For all the retired athletes out there, let us know. Are you more like me? Like, I like to go for a walk. I like to just, do simple, easy workouts, or are you more like Akeem? Like, I'm still Olympic lifting, I'm still sprinting, I'm still doing X, Y, Z. So let us know in the comments, who are you more like? I would love to hear that.
It's funny because when we were walking down to do the hill workout, I said, I would do this with or without you. And you said, I wouldn't do this without you. So that's just me. And
you didn't have to tell them.
At the end of the day, we make it work and we get what we have to get in, because we got to keep the body moving. We got to keep the body fluid, man. It's a way of life.
Okay.
Let's move forward with all of that. Conference weekend. As we said in the last show, it would be hard to cover every single conference. And as we said in the last show, you can't always find it. That's the other thing too.
Yeah.
So
you can find the results, but not the live coverage of each conference meet. Yeah.
Yeah. So we were able to watch a couple ones, some that we looked online. You want me to start off first?
Go ahead. Yeah.
So we watched ACC. We watched SEC because we're a little bit biased there, but we also looked and kept up with some of the other ones as well too. So some of the ones for me, we got to go to the Big 12 because what Texas Tech is able to do and what they have been doing. Shout out to Coach Calvin Robinson over there and Zach Glevash. Hope I'm saying that correctly. Man, they're doing a really incredible job with that sprints program. Obviously, it's not sprint entirety, but I mean, when you have 6 athletes running sub 60 in the 60 on the men's side, like that's crazy, right? So they also, on the other side too, in the men's and women, in the women's 60, they went top 3, right? Winning time of the men's 60 was 6:53, I believe, by DeAndre Swint. Texas Tech on the women's side, Rosemary Chukwumu, hope I'm pronouncing that correctly, she won with 7:23. They also, Texas Tech, second and third time in the men's hurdles. Winning time was by Davion Wilson. In the men's 60, there was a little bit of, I'm not going to say controversy, but the favorite who was supposed to win, the guy who's been leading the country, Terrence Jones, he false started in the final. And so his teammate said, no problem, I will pick up the slack for us. I got it. And I mentioned DeAndre Swint ran 6:53, but it was actually 6:55. Okay. So we move over to the men's 400 and women's 400 of the Big 12. Dejanay Oakley won with 51:75. Michael Joseph won with 45:46. These are indoor times, so these are fast. Mm-hmm. Moving up to the women's 8, Kellyanne Beckford with a time of 2 minutes 99. So almost breaking that 2-minute barrier. Mm-hmm. Moving up, Lena Gray of TCU, she ran 22:71. Terrence Jones said, I may have false started in the 60, but I'm going to come back and drop a wicked time of 20.21. Devin Loudermilk won the men's high jump, 2 meters 26. So it was a lot to cover, but those are some of the highlights of the Big 12, personally for me. Then we also watched the ACC. They had some nice stuff as well, too. So some of the highlights for me over in the ACC, going back to the men's 60, a little bit of controversy all over the internet with Cameron Rose, who is from the North Carolina area. He ran 6:58 to win the men's 60, but it did look a little false startish. But I'm not mad at you, Cameron Rose. Hey, man, if they don't call it, a personal best. If they didn't call it, that's on them, right? So 6:58, a personal best for him. But then he came back and said, look, you guys might have thought that, but I'm going to win the 200 outright, ran 20:85. Shanice Walker in the women's 60, Florida State, 7:20. Jeremiah Davis also did a double crown, winning the triple jump with a mark of 16:66, and then he came back and won long jump with a time of 7:98, so almost jumping 8 meters indoors, which is always incredible. So a lot of things happening in the Big 12, the ACC, and that was some of the highlights for me. What were some of the highlights for you this weekend?
Gonna start with the SEC. Like
shout out to the SEC.
A little biased, and how you mentioned Texas Tech having 6 men go to the 60-meter final over in the Big 12. In the SEC, the Arkansas women had 5 women make it in the 400-meter final. So that's just shout out to whoever is coaching the 400-meter women over in Arkansas. I think it's Chris Johnson. There's only 8 that make the final.
Yeah,
so when you have 6 from the same school, 5 from the same school, you gotta give props there. I think they ended up going 1st, 2nd, 3rd, 4th, and maybe 7th in the final. So they got 30 points from one event. Yeah. So that was just incredible to watch. Shout out to them. Go up to the 800. Michaela Rose, she's been on fire all season.
Hey, she runs like somebody you know, don't she?
She took it from the start. She never looked back. She ran 159 low and was disappointed in her interview. She said, I wanted to break 159. My goodness.
Mm.
You know, she dominated and was still disappointed. And so it just shows how bad she wants to run fast, how bad she wants to be on track to make that 800-meter Olympic team this summer. And as I personally know, it is a hard team to make. So I think she is definitely showing herself to be a strong contender for that. Parker Valby in the women's 3,000 meter. I know you weren't very familiar with her, but you saw her, and you don't know distance well, but you were like, yo, who is this girl? She's laughing everybody. So shout out to Parker from Florida. She pretty much soloed, I think, a meet record in the 3,000 meter. And I think for her, she gets to choose between the 3,000 and the 5,000 heading into NCAAs in a couple of weeks. She may do both. She seems strong enough to do both, but she also has the distance medley relay to where Florida could go out and win that. So be interesting to see what her coaches decide to put her in. But yeah, shout out to Parker. Lamar Diston, Texas A&M, first collegiate woman to ever jump 2 meters in the high jump. She's from Jamaica. So
shout out to her.
A new indoor collegiate record. So, I mean, the SEC was packed. We cannot forget to mention the Christopher Morales Williams from Georgia, a new indoor 400-meter world record, 44.49 seconds. Shocked everybody, except for probably him and his coaches. You know, they know what he's capable of, but we had no idea. We're like, yo, who is this cat? He is rolling, you know? Yeah. So shout out to him. What are the chances of seeing him make the Canadian 400-meter Olympic team this summer? Yeah,
I mean, I actually heard about him his last year of high school. I wasn't sure where he was going to school, but he's from Ontario. I'm not fully sure which city or what team, but I remember hearing about him. I think he ran like 46 leaving high school, which, you know, it may not seem crazy to
Americans.
Yeah, because you guys have but like that's pretty impressive. I wasn't sure where he was going to school. I think it's a great shot for him to make the team. And if he does not make the team, now it's not going to be a good look for him. And it's also one of those things where, like, when you run fast, expectations now change. Mm-hmm. You have now broken the indoor Canadian record. You have now broken the world record. So expectations, you're not an underdog anymore, right? So in this moment right now, you are the person to beat, right? Will he be able to double that up at Olympics? Well, we'll see. You know, it's still early to say. Like, nothing is guaranteed because, as we know, track and field season is a long season. You got to stay healthy throughout that. But
especially for the collegiates.
Oh yeah,
they race a lot.
And some of those collegiate athletes, they may make the team, but usually they're done
by the final of the Olympics. Yeah, they're tired.
Yeah, it's not all of the case, but it's a good portion. Like, history has a way of repeating itself. So now they have to see how they're going to handle meets. How much are we going to be racing? Like, what's the long-term goal? You know, because 44.49, I mean, Fred Curley is on that list all time with 44.85. Mm-hmm. So now he's joined guys like Karani James, Michael Johnson, Michael Norman, Kieran Clement. Like, these are Olympic medalists. Mm-hmm. So the pressure is on, man, but it's good pressure, right? He's going in the right direction. And so 44.49, incredible time. I'm looking forward to seeing what he can do outdoors.
Yeah. Shout out to him. And then real quick, want to mention the Big Ten. Shout out to Chikna Traore. I hope I got his name right. He's from Penn State, and he won the 60 meter in 6:54, came back and won the 200 meter in 20:44.
Yeah, he's ready.
That's not an easy double. You don't, when you're heading into NCAAs, you don't really hear the Big Ten talked about much. It's always SEC, ACC, Big 12. So shout out to him for representing the Big Ten. You know, I read that he's a senior. So a great way to end his indoor conference, probably his last indoor conference, unless he has like a COVID year. I don't know how that works. But if he is a senior, shout out to him. I hope he carries this momentum, this confidence into the NCAA meet and knows that, you know, he belongs.
100%.
You know, he belongs. So shout out to Penn State, shout out to him. But that's what stuck out to me at the Big Ten championships.
For those that were able to watch, let us know what stuck out to you. What are you looking forward to? Obviously, World Indoors is this coming week, and NCAA's is probably the following week, which we're going to be touching on those. But if there was a performance that stuck out to you, let us know. Speaking of thus performance, the performer of the week, we like to do that on the show consistently. And again, we always talk about what we're going to be talking about, but this isn't always something that we share with each other. But I thought, like, this week, it's hard not to disagree with him being the performer of the week. You want to say who it is?
Yeah, I've said it already. Christopher Morales Williams. I mean, it was hard for us to not pick him. 19 years old. We forgot to mention that earlier. 19 years old, 44-49. It speaks for itself. And you mentioned the names that he's now surpassed on the indoor list: Fred Curley, Michael Johnson, Michael Norman, Karani James. Like, these are staples in the track and field world. And for him to surpass their indoor marks, shout out to Coach Carol Gilbert out at Georgia. And I think that she will guide him well to making that Olympic team and trying to medal. She's coached several Olympians, so he's in good hands. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's always interesting and listening. And you said it just now. You mentioned his age, and this is a question and a discussion that we can have right now. I don't really think age matters. Like, to me, I've always said, like, if a person is ready to run fast and to perform well, they're going to perform well, and they're going to run fast, and they're going to jump far. They're going to throw. There was a 19-year-old cat over in Germany who threw 90 meters in the javelin throw in a meet that wasn't like it was in somebody's backyard. It looked like. So it's like, if you're ready, I never really put too much into the age thing, right? Because in other sports, LeBron James is almost 40 years old and he's operating at a high level. So for me, it's if you take care of your body, if you take care of the things that allows your body to run fast, and you're ready to run fast, this. You did Olympic trials when you were like 14. You know what I'm saying? So if it's not so much to me the age about the person running fast as much as about the experience now. So the when someone's ready to run fast, there's nothing that you can do. They're gonna run fast. So as you said with Carol, she's had athletes who have went on to be successful and still training those athletes. It's just making sure that he's mentally staying with it and not getting too ahead of himself or too excited, or he doesn't get himself in the right state to continue this winning form and this winning way. So it's hard not to think that he isn't the performer of the week. I mean, 44-49, man, that's an incredible time. And so for him, it's just, number one, staying healthy. If not healthy, you'll be an afterthought in sport. So got to stay healthy and to just continue building on it, man. I'm looking forward to seeing what he can do outdoors, because outdoors is really around the corner. Obviously, he may run 44-3 because NCAA's is still going. But this is a great, great, great way going into the biggest meet of the collegiate indoor season.
Yeah, he just has to manage those expectations now, like you said earlier. That mental side of it. Physically, he's obviously ready, but now, like, the mental load that comes with now being the best ever in the world. That's a lot. So yeah,
man, just keep being naive about it. And I think sometimes you don't know how good you are until you know. And sometimes not knowing is actually a good thing. I've seen it enough times where people are not supposed to be in a final, but they don't know any better. They're just running free. So you're a performer of the week. Let us know in the comment section below. Man, it is World Indoor Championship weekend. This is a full overview, just highlighting some of the names that we have seen, some of the stuff to watch out for. It is a lot that we're going to be discussing here, so definitely bear with us. But before we even talk about that, you're a former world champion, right? And I believe the first American to win that title.
Yes.
So, going into the World Championships, what are the nerves like? What are you adjusting to? The atmosphere, like, what are some of the stuff that people may not know that could make a difference?
personally, the nerves for me were there. Obviously, I want to perform well. I want to bring home a medal for Team USA. But knowing that a few weeks earlier that I went head to head with Ajay Wilson, and we, went. I knew that I was ready if because I ran so well against Ajay, and she's the best in the world. So it was like, if I can hold my own against her, then I can hold my own against anybody in the world. So that's kind of where my confidence came from heading into that World Championships in 2014. But yeah, the nerves are there, but you also have to think about the time difference. It's in Europe. You have to adjust. You're not in your own bed anymore. You're not eating your oatmeal and whatever it is that you make at home. You're eating what the hotel provides you, so you just have to go with the flow, not let things that are out of your control overwhelm you, like control what you can control. And like we mentioned a few shows ago, don't try to reinvent the wheel. Like it's still 800 meters. Stick to your plan that you and your coach discussed. Execute the best that you can. That was my mindset. Just execute what my coach and I discussed. So that's my advice to all those athletes that have made the Indoor World Championship team. Don't reinvent the wheel. Do what you've been doing up to this point.
Speaking of athletes, well, let's touch on a couple of them. I'm going to cater more to the sprints and a couple of the jumps, and you can take over the longer stuff. We keep it short on my side. So men's 60, right? Some of the entries, obviously, heat sheets aren't up yet. That'll probably be later during the week. But you got athletes like, obviously, world lead is 6:43. Noah Lyles has the world lead. He's going to be there trying to do something that I'm not sure if it's been done before. Being the indoor champ, winning the indoor times, and then being outdoors like 60, 100, 200, 4x1. I'm not sure if that's been done before. Guess we'll see. Maybe it has. Correct me if I'm wrong in that category. But Noah Lyles is going to be there. Christian Coleman is going to be there. He's a medalist from the last one as well, too. Akeem Blake is also going to be there. Ronnie Baker, Ferdinand Omenyala, Emmanuel Matadi, Malachi Murray of Canada, Andre DeGrasse, Brendan Rodney. So there's a bunch of names that is going to be looking to, one, make that final and come away with a medal, right? And again, this is all stuff people are trying to improve and work on stuff still at these world championships. So men's 60s always going to be packed. On the women's side, well, they got some heat over there as well, too. Jillian Alfred's going to be there. Iwa Sabadoba Doda is going to be there as well, too. Aaliyah Hobbs, Zainab Doso from Italy. She's been running very consistent all year. She might be a sleeper in this one to win it. Sasha Lees Forbes, Micaiah Briscoe, who's got a medal at the last one. Brianna Williams, great starter. If she can put it together, man, she can start with the best of them. Kalara Barnes, Tristan Evelyn's having a great year. The Australian Zoe Hobbs. So that's kind of the short 60 men's and women's, some of the names that I saw on the list that I think could really put their dent in there, maybe even upset. Men's 400, obviously, we saw what Brian Faust was able to do for USA Trials. And coming in, he's probably putting himself in some pressure situation because he does have the fastest time in the world. Well, he did. He did. One of the fastest times at 45:47. Ja'Cory Patterson, he's going to be there. Christopher Bailey, Matej Krisak, hope I'm pronouncing that correctly. Alexander Doom, Rasheen McDonald, who more of a outdoor guy. I mean, he's a 43 guy, runs for Jamaica, but indoors a little bit different. But who knows what he can do, if he's feeling good. Women's 4, world lead 49:24 by who? Femke Ball. So she's going to be there. Leaky Clover is going to be there. They actually could go 1 and 2 if they execute the best.
What country? The Netherlands.
Yeah, both from Netherlands. Alexis Holmes, who has been looking really well this year. Henrietta Jaguar, Levi Nielsen, Talitha Diggs, of course, can't count her out. Quinera Hayes, Stacey Ann Williams, Cherokee Young. Jamaica has a strong team as well, too. So it's going to be interesting to see how it unfolds. Obviously, Femke Ball is going to be the favorite. But on any given day, anyone can be beaten. Going over to the hurdle section, because we know how the hurdles is, men's and women's. One clipping of the hurdles could change the whole thing. So it's always going to be competitive. The world lead is 7:27 by Grant Holloway. You know, he's going to be there. Trey Cunningham ran 7:38. He's going to be there. Jason Joseph from Switzerland, he's going to be there, 7:41. So bunch of guys who are in that 7:4, 7:47 range. It's going to make things interesting as well too. Wilhelm Balkane of Germany, he's there as well too. Cameron Murray of the US is going to be there as well too. Women's 60. Tia Jones is not going to be there, which I was looking forward to seeing that matchup between her and Devon Charlton again. Nadine Visser is there, Masai Russell, Christina Clemens, Cindy Sambar, Megan Tapper, Miriam Abdul-Rashad of Canada. She's going to be there as well too. So that's going to be a great matchup across the board. We have not forgotten about the field events. Don't worry, we got that one as well too. High jump athletes who are going to be there. Sung Hyuk Woo, one of the fan favorites because he's always saying woo and he's always excited. So he is going to be there. Shelby McKeown is going to be there. Tobias Poit is going to be there. Woo and McKeown have the same season best, 2:33. So who's going to be able to keep that composure? On the women's side, we have Yaroslava Mikucic. I know I'm pronouncing that incorrectly. We have Nicola Oleslagers and Vashti Cunningham. Yaroslava's jumped 2:04 this year already. I mean, that's crazy. Mm-hmm. So she's going to be looking to continue those winning ways. Let's go down to the pole vault. Some of the names that's going to be there. Armando Duplantis, man. I mean, 6:02 season best. He recently just jumped that. I know he was kind of struggling a little bit, which is interesting when people use the word struggling because his struggling is greater than a lot of other people's.
Best.
Yeah. But Christopher Nielsen's going to be there. 6 meter season best. Sam Kendricks, Ernest John Obiena, he's going to be there as well too. Until you can beat Duplantis, you have to say that he's the favorite going in. But Nielsen's going to have something to say about that. Going over to the women's pole vault, it's always competitive over there. Molly Kadri is going to be there. Canadian Alicia Newman is going to be there. Bridget Williams, Sandy Morris is going to be there. Wilma Murto is going to be there. Katie Moon is going to be there. The world lead in that is 4:85. Sandy Morris hasn't been jumping the best, but we know that she crunch time.
Yeah, I think she recently returned to her college coach.
Okay.
In Arkansas. I think so. So she seems to be rounding back to her old self. So excited to see her and the other American, Katie Moon. It's going to be a tough competition.
And those guys are clutch time performers, so I'm sure they're going to show up. Long jump, man, the men's side, we talked about the young man Furlani the other day, 8:34. Miltis Tentaglu, that's a guy you cannot count out, man. He may not have the world lead jump, but that's a man that on that last jump, he's proven that he can steal the show. Carrie McLeod, Simon Batts, Arvinis Delmiro, Taja Gale, Jaron Lawson. So there's a bunch of strong names, and all of them have jumped over 8 meters on the year. Women's long jump, 7:18 world lead, Tara Davis Woodall. Esme Brume is also there. Larasa Epicino. Bunch of names as well too. All these women have jumped 670 and greater, right? So long jump, Lenis Perez Hernandez, she's got the world lead. Cuban, she's looking really nice. I think outdoors, if anyone's going to compete with Rojas, I think it could be her. We talked about shot put, obviously Ryan Krauser. I mean, that man, every time he throws a shot, it's like world record. But Tom Wass is going to be there. A bunch of different other names as well too. Give a little bit of love to the women's shot put. Jessica Shielder, Canadian Sarah Mitten is going to be there. Chase Jackson. So a lot of names that I just went over, but that goes to show the depth of these events and all the athletes coming in from all over the world. So, yeah, that's kind of the short stuff, a little bit of field. Do you want to let us know about some of the longer stuff?
Yeah. I think in the 3,000 meter on the men's side, it's a race that in the distance world, people are really looking forward to, because you got Josh Kerr and then you have Urad Nuguse, the American. The heavy favorite, of course, is Josh Kerr, but you can't count out Nuguse. He's a dog. He loves to compete. So I think that is the matchup that people really, really want to see. Same with the women's 3K. Really, Sagai is from Ethiopia, is the heavy favorite. I know you like her style. She just gets after it.
Getting busy with or without you.
Right. But you also have Laura Muir from Great Britain, who again is a dog. She's not going to let you just take it from her. She's going to make you run if you're going to beat her. So the men's and women's 3K on the distance side are really, I think, what people are looking forward to do. Those head-to-head matchups. I'm interested to see how it plays out, especially because on the distance side, the 800 meter and up at championship races, it's not about running fast. It's about running smart.
It's not about running fast.
No, they become
fast.
very strategic races because people want to win. So they're not worried about time. Sometimes you see them going so slow in the beginning because no one wants to take the lead and they're just kind of prancing around until it really gets going at the end and it becomes a kicker's race. And when it becomes that, you leave everybody in it. Like everybody is in it when you're starting off so slow. So I'm interested to see even in the 800 and the 1500 in the men's and women's side. To me, they're both wide. They're wide open. You don't have a Thing Mo. You don't have Keely Hodgkinson. So the 800 on the women's side, I would say is wide open. I'm interested to see is someone going to take the lead and make people run, or is it going to be more of a sit and kick? On the men's 800 meter side as well, I would say wide open. So I love these races where there's not so much a heavy favorite. It was interesting that Laura Muir did not decide to run the 1500 meter. She's going the 3000 meter route, and it's probably all part of a bigger plan for the Olympics. But yeah, that women's 1500 meter, you don't have Faith Kipyegon, you don't have Laura Miller, you don't have Safan Hassan, those heavy hitters that we usually think about when we say women's 1500 meters. So again, wide open. And then the men's 1500, Josh Kerr decided to run the 3000 meter. Urad decided to run the 3000 meter. So the 1500, you don't have Ingelbrigtsen. So I say all that to say the 8 and 15, I don't think there's any heavy favorites. I'm excited to see how those play out. And if it comes down to that final lap kick, that's always really exciting to watch.
I want to talk times real quickly because this not running for times fast is crazy to me. I don't know what that's about. I want to talk about just the winning time of our specialty events, the women's and the men's 8 for you and the women's and the men's 60 for me. We don't have to say who we think is going to win, but I want to talk time. What time do you think it's going to take to win the men's 8 and the women's 8?
I would say men's 8, 145 low. I think that will win it. And I think 158 high will win the women's 8. I think historically the women, for some reason, someone will take it out. But the men, sometimes they play around a little bit.
Playing the game.
So I think 158 and 145 will win. So we'll see.
For me, in the men's 60, man, I think I've ran at that track in the UK. If it's where I believe it is, and that's a fast track. I mean,
think it's in Glasgow, Scotland.
Is it?
Yeah.
Okay, so it's not where I thought it was. So I don't know about that track, but the level of competition that's going to bring that men's 60, man, I think it's going to take between 6:39 and 7:44 to win it.
6:44.
Yeah, 6:44. And I think there's going to be someone that runs 6:4 and they don't medal. So it's going to be fast. It's going to be fast. Yeah. There's going to be a couple people that run 6'4", and there's going to be one that runs 6'4" and gets fourth. My opinion. The women's side, man, I think it's possible we may see a new world record. I could see somewhere where it's 6'9" low. I think as consistent as Jillian is, there's a bunch of others as well too who are great starters as well too. So I'm thinking we could see a new indoor 60 world record in the women's 60. I think it's going to be 6'9" low. I think that's time that wins it for me. What are your thoughts? What times do you think will win any of these events? What jumping mark, what throwing mark do you think will win the events that you would like to see? Let us know in the comment section below. It's always interesting when we talk about the longevity of the sport in track and field. There are some names that had to pull out of this world indoors because of injuries or some setback or some delay that they may have had, right? You're thinking long term. We saw Tia Jones after her race, it's kind of limping a little bit, favoring a little bit. You know, it's if you've done sports long enough, you understand how tough it is to come back from injuries, to deal with injuries. And for those who are dealing with injuries, I mean, I gave advice to someone the other day talking about injuries. How difficult is it to come back from an injury? You would know.
It giving me PTSD. It's tough. It's tough both physically and mentally. Maybe a little bit tougher mentally. Physically, you just really have to ride out your time. You can't. You gotta. When the doctor says it takes 10 weeks for a bone to heal, you gotta wait those 10 weeks. But it's that mental, oh gosh, I'm getting out of shape. My competitors are getting ahead of me. I'm not going to be ready in time. And just those mental battles that you're having every single day. So I'm not going to lie, it is very hard. But like you said, it comes with the sport. And the longer you're in it, more chances you're not going to leave the sport without being injured. So it comes with it. And you just have to come up with a plan B. Because plan A is now ruined because of this injury. So what is my plan B? And for me, that was cross training like a maniac to stay in shape. You know, I think if there was a Olympic medal for cross training, I would.
You'd win gold, silver, bronze. You'd be the only one standing there.
Yes, because I bought into plan B. I knew that plan A was not in the works now. So now I'm going to buy in and put my all into plan B. And I'm going to ride this bike like I'm angry, and I would leave sweat dripping off of my body. But when it was time to come back to running again, I was in shape.
Yeah.
Because I cross-trained my butt off and I bought into plan B. So you have to have a plan and you have to buy into it.
What would you say was your most painful injury?
I would say the foot fracture in 2021. I guess it was 2020, leading into 2021. I remember, October, November 2020, fall training, getting ready for the Olympic trials in 2021. I fractured my foot. I remember calling you like, not again, because this was now the third time fracturing this same foot. And so I just felt like my chances now of being able to be at the Olympic trials were ruined. Yeah. Right. That's from October 2020 to July 2021. That's not a long time. I mean, it sounds long, but in the track world, to get ready for the Olympic trials, that's not long. So that one hurt. That was painful physically because my foot was hurting, but it was also very, very painful mentally to know that, gosh, my chances are ruined, but they weren't, because that was the initial thought. But after a few days, it was like, nope. Plan B is to cross train for 2 to 3 months, let this bone heal, and then we'll get right back to running. So, but that was the hardest one mentally, because deep down I knew that this was going to be my last year running, and to have it almost ruined by an injury. But yeah, I overcame it. So for all those athletes out there, you can overcome it. I did make it to the Olympic trials in July of 2021, and I ran my fastest time ever. So it is possible. It's not easy. You need a good team around you. I was very committed to my physical therapy. I was very committed to my cross training. And when I got back to running, I took my time. I listened to my coaches. I wasn't comparing myself to my training partners. I was just focused on me and taking baby steps and celebrating the small wins along the way. So it's tough, but it's possible.
It's a long uphill battle, and watching how you got through it. Again, that's like what you just said is a short, small taste of the actual full slice of the pie of what happened, because, when you think about the timeline, you were not supposed to be able to come back at that time, and not to mention some other things that happened, which we may get into another time. But I think for me, it's the hardest part for me was like listening to my body, because I was never in this whole listening to the body thing, man. I come from more of a soldier mentality, where it's like, whether I'm tired, whether I don't want to do it, whatever the case is, it's got to get done. And when you get hurt, it humbles you, because you can't do anything, especially if you broke something or you fracture something. So it can be very challenging in that sense, because then you start looking externally like, man, this person's getting faster. They're putting in this work and I'm just here, doing calf raises because it's all I can do, or I'm cycling and they're actually sprinting, but it's just remembering, man, that everybody's path to getting better is a little bit differently, and every injury affects people a little bit differently. And so for those who are battling injuries, man, maybe you broke something. I have a personal experience with that now, and it didn't happen to me. I didn't break anything with my little brother, and it's tough, and it sucks, because you can't control certain things. You can't control how quickly your bones are going to heal. You can't control how quickly that you come back. But as you done, and I admire a lot about you, is you control the day. Okay, I got rehab today and I got cross training. That's the two most important thing. And I got to do my best on those two things. And so the rehab process is long, it's tedious, it can be frustrating. Some days you feel like you're taking 20 steps ahead. And then the next day you're like, oh my gosh, I can't even lift my quad. Like, it hurts. Did I reopen a cut? Like, it happens, and it's a process. And it's just, as you said, making sure you have the right team around you, making sure that you have the right people, you're saying the right things, you're watching the right things, you're doing the right things, and you're listening to your body. And it's going to take a while to get back to where you once were, but understand that the body is more strong and robust than we give it credit for. But we got to listen to it.
That's good. And
we got to try to stay out of those dark places. And if you've ever hurt yourself, broken anything, any type of injury, you know how hard it is to get into those dark spaces, and how hard it is to climb yourself out of it. So you got to be intentional about those times. So for those that are battling injuries, man, look, we hear you, we see you, keep fighting, and definitely stay encouraged, and know that you will come out of it on the other side, because the body does heal. Just got to listen to it.
That reminds me, as a sprinter, I've never had like a hamstring injury, but I know that sometimes even when it's healed, there's a lot of sprinters who have that fear that it's going to happen again. Right. So that to me is like, when a bone is healed, and you feel ready to go out and run. You've waited, but hamstring is a little different. I always wondered how sprinters overcome that fear of sprinting again.
Yeah, man, I pulled my hamstring in high school. I was running great in the 11th grade junior year for all the Americans down here. And I got hurt the following year. And man, when I came back, I was hobbling. So, and I knew I was hobbling, but there was nothing that I could do about it, because it felt like it was normal to me. So I was running and I was hobbling. So I was kind of stepping in, and I knew I wasn't running as fast. But I'm like, man, I was so scared to do it again, because I'm like, what does that even mean if it happens again? Yeah. And so for like 3 months, that's how I was running, until one session, I was just like, man, this is stupid. Like, I can't keep doing this. I was like, you know what? This next run, I'm going 100% full tilt. And if I pull it, I pull it. It is what it is. I'll deal with it after. And so I remember just telling myself, Akeem, full speed, full speed, full speed, full speed, full speed, until it clicks. So I'm in the set position, right? And I'm boom, I go and I take a hard 40 meters with everything that I have. No limping, no nothing. Still a little tight, but I'm like, I have to go. I have to go. And I was able to finish that run and that session. And that gave me the confidence to say, okay, it's healed up here. Because physically, if you've been doing all the right things and it says 8 weeks, trust that you're going to be healed in 8 weeks. But 8 weeks physically doesn't always mean 8 weeks mentally.
Yeah. So and it took you time to overcome it, but you did.
Yeah, because I eventually aligned mental and body. And then that was enough for me. So that's why like injuries can be tricky, because you can be healed physically, but mentally there's still that
fear
that you have to overcome.
That's good.
And it's not easy. So hopefully this was helpful to someone who is going through injury, man. Maybe you're out of the injury. Maybe you're going into it. Maybe you just got hurt. Hopefully this can be an encouragement to you and help you get through it. It sucks. Like it's nothing fun, but it is part of the sport. So yeah, I mean, look, episode 4.
Threw a lot at them.
Yeah, this was a lot of information, but again, this is what the show is about. Where are you going to get this type of information, right? Nowhere but the Run Your Race show. And you can catch us on YouTube on Mondays. Yeah, I'm done.
Yeah, I don't know if we figured out how to watch Worlds Friday, Saturday, Sunday, but
we'll find a way.
If you figure it out, put it in the comments, because, we obviously want to tune in and support those athletes.
We appreciate everybody that continues to check out the show, like the show, man. It is always love. We'll continue to bring it. And we're going to find a nice, cool slogan how to close out the show. But for now, we'll just see you next time.